Hello and welcome to Marvin Gardens September. Now we're trying something very unique today. First of all, it's unique because this is the first day of fall, first full day of fall. 9:54 last night was the autumnal equinox. And the other thing that we're trying today is, I don't know if you can actually hear it, but out there is... let's see, he's either a Danny Boy drone or a Dudley Do drone. I don't know who he is. But he's on automated tracking me, and we're going to see if we can use some of that drone footage. And if he can continue to track me as I go around here. But this is experimental, so who knows if it's going to work. But anyway, let's start with the tour. And we're not going to start with chives because we're starting over here in bed 1. And this is the old brassicas. We have harvested some of those little cabbages that are coming off as shoots. We're still getting some shoots coming in off the first planting of broccoli. This is the second planting. The row on the left here is cauliflower, no head showing yet, and the next row over is broccoli, and we got some more broccoli right next to it. Down here is another planting of cauliflower. I don't know if that's going to last long enough for us to harvest anything or not. And then we got 2 rows of carrots here. They're coming along pretty well, and they should be fine. Even if it gets frosty. And a row of beets, which are also doing pretty well. This is the second planting of cabbage, and they're doing pretty good too. This is Bambi lettuce that we've also used some, and the rest is coming in nicely. Next to that we have kale and a few more radishes that most of which we've harvested. And this is a nice looking row of pak choy, and we have also harvested some of that. And finally we got in this bed some scallions, and this is a white scallion. I forget the name of it, but let's continue on here past the solar panel and on into the I should say southern beds, I suppose. This is runner bean, and I'm growing it as an edible flower. And we've pulled a lot of those off and added them to salads, and they're working great. This stand of sunflowers is also coming in, and we've almost got sunflowers starting to bloom here. And speaking of blooming, down here we've got 2 edible flowers. One is calendula and the other is borage. And I'll tell you something, when you serve salads and you sprinkle edible flowers on top, it just makes it happen. These are love in a mist flowers, growing very slowly. I hope they make some blooms pretty soon. And this is some other cutting lettuce. It came in kind of sparsely, but the ones that are growing are doing fine. This is another planting of broccoli, which is looking pretty healthy. And we got more carrots, 2 more rows of them. And this is another row of pak choy. And these are transplants of borage and calendula that I moved over here because it was a vacant row after doing some thinning. Now under here we got nasturtium, and they're also an edible flower, and I'm told that the leaves are also edible. We've put them in salads as well. Next to that we've got lemon gem marigolds. And lo and behold, we've actually got some lettuce, and we've done some harvesting of the lettuce as well. And so we're kind of encouraged about that. Although I do see one here that's suddenly decided to give up the ghost. And this is another planting of calendula, followed by a row of scallions. So, so far I think Danny the drone is following me, or I don't know, I think I like Dudley better. But we'll see how well he does. That brings us to tomatoes. They are slowing way down, and but we're still getting them, and they're still doing pretty well. And then on to peppers, and the peppers, we just had a nice harvest of them, and we've got some more on the way, and we've got the French ballerina doing some harvesting also, and the rain coming down a little bit, and you might notice that we're both wearing jean jackets. So that's because it's sort of fall-like on this first full day of fall. It's about 65 degrees. And that brings us to the most oddball sight you'll probably ever see in a garden, and I gotta say it's probably the most ugliest too. This is the Cardoon, and you're supposed to wrap them up in early fall and let the stalks blanch, and then harvest them after about 4 weeks. And I couldn't find many examples of people doing this on YouTube or anything, but so I just, you know, played it by ear, and we'll see what happens. But isn't that a interesting sight? And as you can see, they're still blooming. This is the bee balm, which has been blooming, and it's also used to be the ground cherries, but the ground cherries have given up the ghost for this season. The bee balm has been blooming sparsely, but since it's a perennial, I'm going to maybe find a different home for it. And then in there, Frankie just went past an eggplant, and I think in the I've got a basket shot of our latest harvest of peppers and eggplants, and we just pulled a whole bunch of them. And then these are the rest of the peppers. Now that brings us on to what used to be the summer squash, and what is still actively the okra. Still have pods coming in for that. And then the lima beans, which have just been doing really well all summer long. And the key to lima beans is planting a lot of them, because it takes a lot to get a good amount of harvest. And these guys, we've had several quart bags of them. Now we got these flowers that are planted where the winter squash used to be, and so they're all done for, but it's nice to have flowers so that something's growing there anyway. Now out there is the corn, and I don't know if I'll try to go out there or not, although I think maybe the drone will follow me out there, so let's try. It gets a little confused whenever I bend over. But so here's the corn patch, and as you can see, everything's pretty much done for. And I did pull all the blue corn and all the popcorn too. So I think we're completely done here, and I'm going to play a little clip here that covers the corn harvest while I bring the drone down, and then we'll continue on. Okay, corn harvest. First, let me show you this still of the blue corn harvest, and this was pulled back in late August, but it was so late August and so far after the August video that it really counts as a September event. So anyway, it's a dry corn, so if we do anything with it, it'll be to kind of grind it up into cornmeal and see if we can make something with that cornmeal. But that brings us to popcorn. Look at this pile of ears, at least 50 to 100 ears of multicolored popcorn. A great harvest, but here's the interesting thing. They're only this big. So the entire popcorn harvest fits into this one garden hod. But other than the fact that they're so small, in fact, this is actually the biggest one right here. And it's far bigger than all the others. But some of these are so small, it looks more like a raspberry than an ear of corn. But great variety of color, and that's exactly what they were advertised to be, is multicolored mini popcorn ears. So they need to dry out a little bit more before we try popping them. But that's a pretty good harvest. I'm happy with it. So that's going to do it, I think, pretty much for Marvin Gardens September 2018. Little shadow man hanging in the shadows there. Yeah, I could do the pond. Maybe I'll walk over there real quick. But right after I was in the corn patch, the drone decided that it was out of batteries and it landed itself, amazingly enough. So there he sits. It's a Phantom 4 by DJI. I mean, and I love it, but it's a little tricky to try to get it to do that that following. And like I say, I don't know if the noise is going to be too obnoxious. But if it is, I'll just reshoot the video and try to sync up what I do in the reshot video with the original video, and maybe use the drone footage over that. Anyway, so Benina suggested I come in here and do some pond stuff, and this is these are lilies that we started from seed and had inside all winter, and they've been out here growing and blooming all summer. And the fish are a little bit hungry, but it's amazing how the temperature affects their level of hunger. It just kind of drops off almost immediately as soon as it starts getting cooler. As you can see, there's still lots of water hyacinths. They've also been blooming like crazy, but the blooms only last about a day, so they come and go. In fact, look at that. There's one right there that's been hiding. There you go. And I have removed so many water hyacinths from this area. It's unbelievable how well they did this year. As you can see, they're still going like crazy over in the tub here. But we're still sort of in peak green bloom for the pond area, and certainly is green and lovely all over on the manor. I've left the pool up because I bought a heater for it, or at least a pump that also tries to heat the water, but it's made for a spa, not a pool of this size, so it's having a hard time getting the water up to a warm temperature, or I would say the comfort zone, which is in the upper 80s. But we'll see. It should be good for next year during the warmer months, but I just don't think we're going to have a warm snap warm snap. You don't hear that very often. That's the opposite of a cold snap. A heat wave, I should say, or a heat spell. So, anyway, that's gonna do it because I'm kind of rambling now. This is what the garden looks like on the first full day of fall. This is Marvin Gardens, September 2018, and we'll see you all next month when the season really does turn quite a bit in October. Goodbye, y'all. Hope you're having a great fall.